and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the Russian news at 1326.
Russian news song. Bringing the news about Russia and stuff and other places in Russia and stuff that happens in Russia too. Yeah!
RTR новости 1326. Добрый день, наши все безрабочие зрители. Мое имя Павлов Перемислав.
And my name is Alexander Kosakov. The first story of this afternoon is about the recent political turmoil in the great country of Russia. On March 4, 2012, the elections began in Russia for a new prime minister and a new president. The long-term president, Medved, stepped down to allow the newly elected President Putin to take office. At the same time, the Prime Minister Putin stepped down to the newly elected Prime Minister Medved took office.
Да, зрители, that sounds exactly as you think. Medvedev and Putin essentially switched positions. Legal, you think? Some say it is. But the worst part is, not only did they switch jobs, but they discussed this switch months before the election even happened. Does that mean the election was rigged? Some people think so, with 60% of the votes going to a widely unpopular Putin. Some say that this shows a corruption in the system. To speak about this corruption in the system, we have Vladislav Gorbenchikov. Good afternoon, Vladislav Gorbenchikov. May I call you Vlad?
No. Good afternoon.
All right, why don't you take a seat, Mr. Gorbenchikov?
We've got a guest on the Russian news.
Good evening, Mr. Gorbenchikov. Tell us about the corruption in Russia's system.
The corruption in Russia's system is a problem. I mean, Putin is just exploiting the Russian people in doing all this. I mean, I would have been fine had Putin legitimately won the elections and switched jobs, but it's clear because they were plotting about it months ahead in advance, they were going to rig the election. I mean, you can't help but have your suspicions.
So you're openly admitting Russia's corruption in the government?
Russia has one of the most corrupt governments in Europe. I mean, all around you see these prosperous countries with true democracies where the people get to have their input on the government. And in Russia, it's not like that.
What's your view on Russia being the number one most corrupt first world country?
It's a shame, really, because Russia has a right to be the greatest country in the world. I mean, just with our beautiful landscapes and our rich history, we really need to take advantage of that and rise to what we could truly be. And the corruption is just crippling that.
Do you think that with this country full of corruption, that any election would be rigged, not just Putin's?
I'm sure any election would be rigged if we keep the current system. The system is completely open to meddling from other people, and I don't find that fair.
So what system would you propose?
Communism.
So you think we should remove Lenin's body and bring back communism?
If it works, let's do it.
Thank you, Mr. Gorbenchikov.
Anytime, Pavel.
Okay, let's...
And now for our unforeign correspondent, Alexander Ovechkin.
Thank you, Pavel. I'm Alexander Ovechkin. Big news out of Kirov tonight regarding the ongoing anti-Putin protests, as corruption blogger and protest leader Alexei Navalny has been put on trial. He is accused of stealing 16 million rubles, or roughly $510,000, from a timber firm he was advising in 2009. Navalny has claimed that all the charges are fabricated by Putin to get all of his supporters to scare away from protesting. Now, he also says that there's no way he's going to not be convicted because of Russia's 99% conviction rate, because only watertight cases go to trial. Putin denies all involvement in this. He says that he's not even following the trial, which is complete crap. But I think that this is going to be an interesting story to follow over the coming weeks.
Thank you for that wonderful report, Alexander. Now, on different news, yesterday a meteor detonated over Chelyabinsk, Siberia, causing widespread panic for many residents of the area. Today we have a member of the B612 Foundation, Vyacheslav Fedotenko, here on the phone to talk with us about what happened.
Somebody is calling on the phone for the Russian news. Ring, ring!
Good evening and thank you for having me on the show.
So how big was this meteor exactly?
Well, it was about 17 meters in diameter and weighed over 10,000 metric tons. That's comparable to 10 million dictionaries falling out of the sky in a massive ball.
Wow, if the meteor was that big, how substantial were the damages?
Surprisingly, the damages could have been a lot worse. 1,500 people were injured from broken glass when the meteor exploded, but there were no fatalities. Had it exploded close to the ground, the effects would have almost surely been more tragic.
How soon do you think we will be able to prevent these kinds of things?
Well, I believe that the technology required to protect...
Slava, I want to use the phone!
Hello? It seems as though we've lost him. Either he dropped the call or was killed by another asteroid. Thank you anyway, Vyacheslav.
Da-na-na-na-na, Russian news song. Da-da-da-da-da, bringing the news about Russia and stuff and other places in Russia and stuff that happens in Russia too. Yeah!
Alright, and now, speaking of interesting things happening in dangerous places, we have Leonid Smith, a nuclear expert from Moscow, to talk about the new situation in Chernobyl.
Hi, I'm Leonid Smith, on site here in Detroit. Detroit, a sprawling landmass of scum and villainy. But millions of miles away, actually thousands, I was exaggerating, lies Chernobyl. Big news is coming out of Chernobyl. Recently, a roof collapsed on the infamous plant. People were afraid that this would raise radiation levels, causing a whole new Chernobylian disaster. However, they were incorrect in this. The roof collapse did not affect the radiation level at all. The cause was error by the user. The person who was in charge of Chernobyl screwed up. What can this tell us? What is the government trying to do to us? They're putting people in charge who don't know how to run Chernobyl. I find this dangerous. But let's get back to the reporting. Recently, a press conference was held by Steve Schmidt of the Russian Nuclear Foundation. A roof has collapsed at Chernobyl. These are the only facts that we know of at this time. More details will be released as we find them out. So, everybody have a good day, and yeah. Powerful words there from Steve. Now, I don't know what we can learn from this, but I do know it's not good. From Detroit, Leonard Smith, signing off.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And on the lighter note, New Year's is a wonderful time for any and all nations. But in Russia, it seems more like Christmas. Russian New Year spans from the 31st of December to the 1st of January, and is filled with fireworks, music, and all-around good times. This is more of a family holiday, but you can't forget the drinks for the adults. The day started off by the president talking about the accomplishment that the country has made that year. At midnight, the Russian national anthem plays, and people congratulate each other and exchange gifts.
If you happen to be in Moscow at the time, you will most likely be heading to the Red Square to see the fireworks display. Remember to bundle up because it gets bitterly cold around this time of year. Children get a visit from Russian Santa known as Ded Moroz and his companion Snegurichka, who leave presents for the children.
There are trees decorated with lights called New Year's lights. This New Year is considered the New Year because it is after the church have switched from Julian calendar to Georgian calendar. During the time of the Soviets, this was celebrated in place of Christmas.
Thank you for watching RTR Novosti в 13:26. This is the end of our broadcast, and we will now roll the credits and sing a song about it.
Da-na-na-na-na, Russian news song. This is the last news song there is, 'cause the ending credits are happening now, and the news is almost over. There's been a key change in Russian news song. The key change in the Russian news. It's the last verse of the Russian news, and we changed the key on you. Change the key on you. Russian news.